Hi, I'm Reverend Jeff Snyder. I want to come and talk with you for a few minutes every now and again, dealing with particular issues of the day from the perspective of a faithful follower of Christ, who is also a one-time archaeologist, a writer, and photographer. You might say my perspective could be a little different, if not somewhat unique. And one thing I've always liked about reading was spending time with an author, with the author's way of thinking, with the author's view of the world. Let's try a little bit of that now. You can come and get some of my point of view here. So have you got a minute? Today let's talk about fear that's trying to eat us alive, distorting our view of reality, and what we can do about that. You remember being told when you were a kid that you are what you eat? Well, there's some truth in that old chestnut. And as we age, our doctors remind us just how much truth there is in it, because we have to watch what we eat more and more if we intend to stay healthy. I certainly know I do. All things in moderation, they say. Well, that includes the news of the day. Especially during the pandemic. What we choose to read, what we choose to watch, makes a big difference in our lives. And sometimes you take in too much of that stressful news and it feels like the walls are closing in all around you. Especially when we're called to stay apart from each other for the safety of those who are particularly vulnerable in the world today. And we find this difficult to do because, of course, we're social creatures. It's how God made us. But still, we do this because it allows us to follow the second great commandment, which is love your neighbors as yourselves. And to love ourselves and to love our neighbors, we really need to stay apart for a time. But in our isolation, our fear rises when we take in too much of the bad news. It darkens our day. I remember a time when I was a teenager and I sat down with a book of Edgar Allan Poe stories and I read 5 of them back to back. Now, this was on a sunny day. The birds were singing outside, the light was streaming in through the window, and yet the day seemed to grow darker and darker as I read the talented author's spooky words. And finally I had to set the book aside and step outside. Breathe the fresh air, feel the sunlight on my face, and see that the world wasn't quite as dark as Poe was portraying it. It certainly helped. So, we are all what we choose to consume, to a large degree. And it's time that we make some good choices and work on reducing our fear. The psalmist wrote in Psalm 119, in part, I treasure your words in my heart, so that I may not sin against you. Blessed are you, O Lord, teach me your statutes. With my lips I declare all the ordinances of your mouth. I delight in the ways of your decrees. As much as in all riches. I will meditate on your precepts and fix my eyes on your ways. I will delight in your statutes. I will not forget your word. Reading something that's uplifting is a great antidote. It allows us to see the world differently, and the psalmist was delighted to see the world as God sees it. And remember, God said that all creation was exceedingly good. And that includes us, and that's well worth remembering. So, give that a try. Of course, one of the byproducts of fear is not doing the things that give us joy. Not doing our favorite things because we're simply too scared. So, if we find ourselves not reading, but we love to read, if we find ourselves refusing to watch movies, though we enjoy them, or listening to our favorite music and instead are spending our time consuming a constant and unhealthy diet of pandemic news and commentary, it's time to take a break from all of that. It's time to toss that stuff aside for a while and try a very old practice instead, a spiritual practice called the walking prayer. It's incredibly simple. It's easy to do. You simply put all that stuff down and head out the door. Get on your walking shoes and go for a walk for a while. And while you're walking, focus yourself on the natural world around you, the beauties of creation, the flowers, the trees, the birds, the animals, your fellow human beings. Focus on the God-created beauty and refocus your mind. It's a wonderful thing to do. Of course, you have to do it within limits. Don't get run over by a car while crossing the street. But let that natural beauty that can be found everywhere around us seep into our unsettled minds and begin to feel the calm that comes with it. Also, we can discover all that's going on outside our door. It can be really revealing early in the morning. I like to go out at around 6:30 in the morning. And one morning I went out and there were 2 rabbits and a cardinal that seemed to be having some sort of early morning meeting, until one of the rabbits jumped straight up in the air. The cardinal jumped straight up in the air in response, and then the second rabbit decided the meeting was done and ran off. I'm not sure quite what was going on there, but it certainly was distracting. So put down the tablets. Place the old cell phone on airplane mode for just a while. People will still be able to get a hold of you when they need to. It's all right. Turn off the computer, the TV, and the stereo and go for a walk. John Muir wrote, "Climb the mountains and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine flows into trees. The wind will blow their own freshness into you, and the storms their energy, while cares will drop away from you like the leaves of autumn." I've taken to walking the neighborhood every morning when it's not raining. I take the camera with me because I really enjoy photography, and I seek out the aspects of nature that are available to me when I'm walking in the neighborhood and in the local park we have down by the Brandywine Creek. This gets me the exercise that the doctor tells me I need, and it allows me to do something I love while exercising, that photography, practicing my photography, developing my skills. And I've been fascinated to see that I'm now focusing on the fleeting beauty of the spring flowers and the local wildlife, particularly the birds. I've come to recognize the regulars that cross my path. And I've discovered I had a particular bias to write off little birds as all just a bunch of sparrows. And that's downright silly, because among those little birds I've caught an eastern kingbird, an American goldfinch, just to name a few, both of which I would have written off as just more little birds. And I've discovered that there are a ridiculous number of sparrows out there of many different varieties. It was kind of embarrassing, but it was truly illuminating. And all the photos that you see here that are going on up there in the corner, those are mine, taken on those morning walks. By the end of the walk, my mind is clear. My spirit is uplifted, and I'm ready to face the day. All in the time it would have taken me to drink a cup of tea and read over the news of the morning. Give it a try and see if it doesn't help. See if it doesn't put your life back into a better perspective and put the fear away. It also gives us an appreciation for what's happening all around us while maintaining our social distance. You know, if you're lucky, you might even see a few of your neighbors while you're out there. And these days, they're a lot more likely to wave and smile at you as you pass. It's a lot of fun. It's very encouraging. Albert Einstein once said, Our task must be to free ourselves by widening our circle of compassion, to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty. Give it a try. See what it does for you. Now, you all have a blessed day. And I hope we'll get a chance to talk again soon. Goodbye for now, and God bless.